Good morning. Today is Sunday, October 22nd, 2023. My name is Jillian Major, and I'm a teacher here at First Congregational Church, United Church of Christ in Muskegon, Michigan. Today I'll be reading two lessons. One is from week 6, which was October 15th, and the other is week 7, which is today, October 22nd. This will be from the Progressive Christianity curriculum, which First Congregational Church has purchased, but we do not own the copyrights to. Starting off with week 6, our affirmation is, my success is measured in happiness and peace within. And now I'll start on the story. It's called The Isaacs Have a Party, which is adapted from a Jewish folktale. Raziella was a plain little woman who lived in an ordinary little house in an unremarkable little town. There was nothing fancy about her at all. She was not the mayor or the judge, but she was often consulted when a decision needed to be made or a problem resolved. When people followed her advice, things turned out well. Her garden was the most abundant one in town, and she made the best potato pancakes you could find anywhere. Everyone in the town loved and respected her. Mr. and Mrs. Isaac bought land and a big house on the edge town. They wanted to make a good impression with all the neighbors, so they planned a party. But they were only interested in being friends with important, successful people, so they told the butler to be very careful about passing out the invitations. The butler first invited the mayor and the judge. Then he invited the people who lived in the biggest house on Main Street and on First Street. He gave an invitation to old General Gruber because a statue of the general stood in the city park. He made sure the teacher of the year was invited, and he gave invitations to the entire hockey team because they won the state championship. Then he gave one to Hilda, who owned Hilda's Home Furnishing Superstore, which was big enough to fill a city block. Of course, the man who owned the bank was invited, and the last invitation went to the actress who had the lead role in the upcoming play. The party was underway when one of the hockey players asked the butler, "Why didn't you invite Raziella? She is the most important and successful person in town." The butler was horrified. What if his employees discovered his mistake? He ran all the way to Raziella's house. Every morning, Raziella spent time in prayer, watched the sunrise, and then worked in her garden. That was where the butler found her. He hastily explained about the party and his employers and asked that she come with him immediately. He appeared so upset, she agreed to come and hurried with him back to the party. Still worried that his employers would discover his mistake, the butler asked Raziella to wait in the kitchen while he went to the dining room and set a place for her at the elegant dinner table. Mr. and Mrs. Isaac walked into the kitchen to check on the food, and they saw a plain little woman in dirty clothes, a torn apron, and muddy shoes. "What are you doing here?" they asked. "Your butler asked me to come," Raziella explained with a kind smile. "That can't be right. Look at your clothes." The Isaacs were confused. "We are having a dinner party for important, successful people, not people with dirty, torn clothes. You can't be here. Please leave and take your muddy shoes with you." Raziella calmly left, but there was a twinkle in her eye. She didn't go home. She walked to a friend's house. There she washed, and her friend took out her fanciest clothes from the back of the closet. Raziella borrowed the loveliest dress, the shiniest jewelry, and the most stylish shoes and purse. Then, with a sparkling diamond comb in her hair, she went back to the party. This time she went in the front door and was greeted by the Isaacs with eager smiles. They didn't recognize her as the same woman they kicked out of the kitchen. She was offered wine and sat at the head of the table. After dinner was served to all the guests and they began to eat, Raziella picked up her spoon and began to scoop soup into her lap. Everyone stared in amazement, and the hockey player grinned. Raziella opened her purse and filled it with salad. Then she picked up her fork and put beans in her pockets. When Raziella picked up the gravy spoon, the Isaacs stood up and gasped, "What are you doing?" Raziella looked up before pouring gravy on her shoes and said, "It seems clear that you invited the clothes to the party, so I'm just making sure the clothes enjoy this delicious dinner." The hockey player stifled a laugh, and the other guests wondered what would happen next. The Isaacs were astonished to realize their mistake. "We were so worried about making a good impression. We would like to try again. Would you, Raziella, like to come to our party?" Mr. Isaac said with a red face. Raziella rose and replied with a smile. "The clothes thank you for a wonderful meal. I would be happy to join your party after I change." All right, and then moving on to week number 2, which is for today. The affirmation of the week is, I feel for inner guidance before I act. And the story is called The Golden Rabbit and Wise Lion. And this is a tale derived from an Indian story. Savita was a golden rabbit with soft fur, long ears, and very powerful hind legs. She was new to the forest, and she was pleased to find the perfect home under a beautiful mango tree. The opening was big enough for a rabbit, but too small for a wolf, and the tunnel led down to a safe, cozy den. The mango tree was very tall and provided cool shade. Savita could see the fruit high up in the tree, ripening in the sun. Someday soon, she would have fresh mangoes to eat right at her door. A mother boar and 2 piglets lived down the forest path. The 2 little piglets were playing outside Savita's den one day, and she could hear them boasting to one another. "I'm going to be the biggest and strongest boar ever," one piglet told his brother. "Nothing will be able to hurt me, not a wolf, a bear, or anything." "You can't be stronger than everything," his brother scoffed. "What if something really big, like the sky, fell on you? You would be squashed." As the piglets went away, Savita thought about the sky falling. She never thought the sky could fall down. It was a frightening thought. Wasn't it stuck up there with the clouds? Although it was time to go out and get something to eat, she decided to stay safely in her den. Eventually, Savita fell asleep. In the early light of dawn, Savita woke up hungry. She reassured herself that the sky would never really fall down and prepared to go up the tunnel and outside. Suddenly, there was a loud thump and the earth shook. Savita froze. Even her whiskers stopped twitching. Thump, thump, ka-thump. The ground was shaking all around her, and then Savita ran. She bounded up the tunnel and outside and kept running down the path through the trees. The other animals of the forest saw the golden rabbit running fast and looked very scared. "What are you running away from?" Savita called the deer. "The sky is falling down. A big piece landed near my home. I heard it," yelled the rabbit as she ran by. Some of the animals that heard this were frightened and ran after Savita. A parrot flew over her head and squawked, "Why are you all running so fast?" "The sky is falling down. Big pieces almost landed on Savita," the boar called back. Hearing this, the parrot flew down near the ground and joined the growing crowd of animals running toward the river. They raised such a cloud of dust that Parindra, the wise lion, saw it and ran in front to find out what was happening. He stood with his tail to the river, directly in the path of the Golden River and all those who followed. When they saw him, the animals were so surprised that they stopped running. "What is happening here?" the lion demanded in his deep, kind voice. "The sky is falling down. I heard it land near my home. You better run," Savita explained. The lion simply said, "Show me." And he walked back into the forest toward the rabbit den. Savita knew she must go with him, although she trembled with fear. When they reached the den, the lion asked, "What do you see?" Savita was confused. There was no chunks of sky on the ground. There was just her den, the tall mango tree, and thump! A large, ripe mango landed on the ground beside her. Savita jumped in alarm and then noticed there were many of the big yellow and red fruits lying in the grass around her den. Suddenly, the golden rabbit realized her mistake. The sky wasn't falling after all. The mangoes were. She had not even stopped to look. Her whiskers twitched with relief and understanding as she told herself, "I'll remember to stop and think before I act next time."